now, then the 1 minute board has gone up on the timing board, so it looks like we are going to get this race underway in a few moments' time. 1 minute board is up, followed by the 30-second board I can see outside on the grid, which means then they'll set them off on the green flag lap in a second, and thankfully we'll be able to get this race underway very, very shortly. So green flag flies, and away they go off the grid. So out to see what the conditions are like now. They've been still on the grid for 15-20 minutes. So that's the recap as they go on the formation lap to head back round to the grid. And the lineup for this third race of the weekend for the ETSL and STXR Challenge. Again, the grid set by the results of race 2. So Chris Grimes then, after he was declared winner of that photo finish that was originally given to Michael Blackburn, he in fact actually was to look back at the photo and actually saying it was him that won by 31 thousandths of a second. He starts on pole position for this third race. Alongside him is the man that he thought had been beat. He thought he'd been beaten by, but in fact he had actually beat. That being Michael Blackburn on the front row of the grid. Then it's Chris Jones, who's been the most successful driver this season so far. He starts on the second row in third. Alongside him is the first of the three Barons, Lee Barron in fourth position, who's his main rival is Chris Jones. Then it's Lewis Barron and Ryan Barron to make it an all-family affair on the third row of the grid. That's followed by Mark Robinson and Michael Heath, two former champions on the fourth row. Gareth Pilling, who was in the pit lane, so I'm assuming that he's possibly starting for the pit lane, I presume, or maybe just had some problems that forced him to miss the start. But either way, he should be starting from ninth on the grid. If not, he'll probably be starting from the pit lane. But who will be starting on the fifth row of the grid is Sam Beckett in car number 96. Then it's Mark Blunt and Luke Woodward from Adam Bissell and Alec Townley. And it should be Christopher Rowlands, Ross Craig, and then Tony Mumford to round out what should be 17 cars starting. I don't think we'll get that, possibly missing one or two because of the conditions and maybe one or two issues. Then it's the couple of rows gap back and the 20-second delay to our XR contenders. We're just at the back of the field there forming up, and that's Alex Causer who will start on pole position after his win in the second race in the XR category. And Jason Hennifer will start alongside him on the front row of that particular group. It should have been Ben Thomas and Daniel Cooper on the second row, but sadly both of them have had issues which has forced Ben not to take the start originally when they were forming up. And then after the initial two green flag laps, when the rain was coming down harder, it means that Daniel Cooper's had an issue which has forced him to miss this third race. So he will not be taking part, I'm afraid. So it's an empty second row. But the third row is certainly full of Danny Lee in his bright yellow Escort XR3i. So in these conditions, he certainly isn't going to be hard to spot. And Simon Robinson, who many will confirm definitely should have won that second race had his luck not run out with his reliability. He was winning overall and in the XR category, but then whatever issue he had forced him to pull up on the pit straight with just a few minutes to go. And so it means that he's got to do all the work in the XR category from the very back. There's only four of them, of course, after the two we've lost from the second row. But it should be, hopefully, quite a strong battle between them, particularly if Simon Robinson can get a good start from the outside of the third row of the XRs and try and get himself quickly up behind Alex Causer and then hopefully in front. So here's the field making its way now through Brandon Nelson. And you can agree that the standing water and the spray that's being kicked up is much more manageable and much better than it was initially going around when it was absolutely dumped down with rain. Thankfully, the rain has mostly subsided. There's still a bit of a light, very light shower out there at the moment, but it's much more manageable than it was before if they raced just then. So justified decision to delay the start by the senior clerk, of course, Tony Weberly, and everyone involved in race control. So well done for their quick thinking, and well done for that decision to allow the rain to subside and allow the conditions to improve. So it's still wet and rather it's still a bit wet, a bit windy out there, but still much better than it was before. Now that's Chris Jones is that into the pit lane. Yes, it is. Chris Jones, championship leader, and third in. Okay, well he's third in the championship. Now that's interesting. He's. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to line up exactly parallel to where he is on his grid spot alongside Lee Barron, but he's being told, no, you have to go to the end of the pit lane. You can't start from there. You have to start at the end of the pit lane and wait for everyone else to go through. So that's a bit cheeky from Chris Jones. I wasn't quite sure what he was trying to do there, when he was trying to line up and start from the pit lane, which he absolutely can't do. You can't do a racing start from there. But it means now that Lee Barron's all on his own on the third row, and of course it means now that Lewis and Ryan behind him have a bit of clear air to shoot for, to try and get through alongside their father on the run towards turn one. So, thanks for bearing with us, everybody, on my live stream. It's been a bit of a wait, but it has been justified given the conditions were not ideal at the time when they were about to start the race. But thankfully, the 5-second board has gone up. We can finally get our third STXR Challenge race of the weekend underway. Chris Grimes and Michael Blackburn on the front row of the grid. Lights out, and we are underway as they slip and slide their way away from the grid. Nice steady start from the STs. XRs will go away in a few moments' time, being started by the Union Jack. We're down towards turn 1 for the first time. It's on the outside line. Michael Blackburn on the inside, Chris Grimes. Side by side into the right-hander. The three Barons get together as they head towards the apex. Also, great start from Mark Blunt up the inside of both Lewis Baron, who's dropped back a couple of places, and Mark Robinson. Sam Beckett's also fallen back a little bit more. Here go the XRs. Cracking start from the front row from Jason Hennifer. He's beaten poleman Alex Causer away to lead them down towards Ritchie's for the first time. As for the STs, a little bit of standing water on the inside of Montreal, but apart from that, everyone's getting through safely. So it looks as though it's going to be Michael Blackburn who is going to lead the way. There goes Sam Beckett up the inside of Mark Robinson. So after a strong start for Mark, making up a place or two, he's now lost one back again to the 96 of Beckett. Up through a left-hander and off onto the grass has gone Chris Grimes, running wide on the exit of Palmer's. It now gives a chance on the run to Agostini for Michael Blackburn to get past here. And watch for Lee Barron as well in the silver car with the orange front. He'll be racy from the second row of the grid. Currently in third and right behind the top two as they turn in. Blackburn has got through, so he has got past on the inside of Chris Grimes into Agostini. He's made that move stick. And I wonder if Lee Barron might sense an opportunity here to possibly try and pick his way through and get up the inside line. Here goes Chris Grimes again, trying to recover. Blackburn takes that outside line, which will be favoured in terms of grip. And Chris Grimes then has to settle back for second place and might well be under threat here from Lee Barron in the moment if he plays his cards right and takes that wide line. He's gone a little bit deeper into the corner to find that wider line, to find the grip on the outside. But so far, Michael Blackburn's holding all the cards at the moment. As he turns out of Williams, he leads the way from Chris Grimes to second place. Barron third and Barron fourth. It's Lee ahead of Lewis. Then we have, by the looks of things, I think that's Sam Beckett in fifth position. And Mark Blunt's made a great start. He started back in 11th on the grid, up 5 places into 6th. So a cracking getaway from Mark Blunt in one of his first few races in the STXR Challenge. I think it's his first year in the series and doing a grand job in this, one of his best starts of a race to date so far this year in 2021. So good effort from Mark as they turn in through Brundle and Nelson for the first time in front of the spectators on the banks. Most of which have been very hardy in terms of, and very committed in terms of staying out there with their umbrellas and their raincoats and to survive the worst of the weather. And while it is still raining out there, it's definitely not as bad as it was earlier on. There's Adam Bissell. Currently, he started back in 13th on the grid, so he's going to try and make his way through the mire. Michael Blackburn then. Oh, and Chris Grimes just arrives into shot completely sideways through Coram. How on earth he caught that? I've absolutely no idea. What would have helped is it being a front-wheel drive car, so usually in a slide like that, you boot the throttle and wait for the front end to come back around. Thankfully, it worked. But Chris Grimes, goodness me, arrived there with such gusto. The car was fully sideways as he came through the right-hander and just about caught it up. And I'm pretty sure Sam Beckett and co just thought, I am not getting involved trying to pass him there. Completely backed off and let him have his, what was perceived to be his incident, but he thankfully made sure it wasn't. So, incredible stuff. Meanwhile, speaking of incredible, Simon Robinson has not hung around at all. He looks as though he's going to be leading the XR contingent from Jason Hennifer. But then Danny Lee is third, so the question's got to be, there he is. I was going to wonder where Alex Causer was, but I think he's possibly had an off or had a spin somewhere on that opening lap because he's fallen back down the order to now to fourth in the XR. So he's got some work to do if he could try and catch back up in this last race, which is only 15 minutes. The first race of the weekend yesterday was 20, and then races 2 and 3 today are both 15 minutes in length. Oh, where's Chris Grimes got to? Chris Grimes disappeared again, so Michael Blackburn comes to him the lead, but the next car coming in the shot is actually, in fact, Sam Beckett, so it's changed around again. So Michael Blackburn leads, but it's Beckett in second place. Chris Grimes has disappeared off the road. Third place for Lee Barron. Lewis Barron is fourth. Mark Blunt is fifth. Sixth is Mark Robinson. There's Chris Grimes. So there he is in car 81. Now, he was, of course, in second, had that big moment at Coram a few moments ago. He's obviously had another one. I suspect he's either had one either at Ritchie's or at the Montreal hairpin, where he's gone either just run wide on the exit at Ritchie's or he's gone straight on and onto the grass at... There was all 3 abreast as Mark Robinson goes up the inside of both Mark Blunt and Lewis Barron. Goodness me. It's all action here in the STXR Challenge. Mark Robinson was having a big dive up the inside though. It didn't quite work out. Lewis Barron runs wide on the exit, lets both Mark Blunt through, and also diving through is Mark Robinson, who doesn't appear to be hanging around. So straight up the inside he goes, but he runs wide. Lewis Barron tries to get him back on the exit. He might get a better drive off the corner, and back alongside him he comes. So down side by side, they'll go down the back straight. Meanwhile, Danny Lee's under threat from a recovering Alex Causa as they make their way out of Agostini for the second time. So everywhere you look, there's all sorts going on in this third race. And what's not helping is that even though whilst it's wet, it's also still quite warm, sort of 18, 19 degrees, so it's quite humid, which I think if you saw on the back of those two XRs, what's not helping is that the rear winners are steaming up. So I'm sure pretty much if they've got some kind of way to windscreen heater or way to kind of clear the humidity, either that they've rubbed some Rain-X on the inside of the windscreen to stop it from misting up. Either way, you have to be careful. It's not just the visibility outside of the car, the external factors that are affecting visibility, but also maybe internal factors, being the fact that the windows might start to steam up. But probably the reason why most of them have got the windows open to ensure that doesn't happen. Impressive stuff from Mark Blunt, though. I have to say I'm very impressed by Mark in this third race. It's his best run so far in a STXR Challenge race, and you couldn't tell really at the moment that he's a novice. He's got the cross on the back of it, the yellow square with the black cross. That denotes that a driver's done less than 6 races and is considered a novice. So incredible stuff from Mark. He's actually coming to threat now from another Mark, that being Mark Robinson, former multiple XR champion, and was up in contention for the title last year in car 69. Turns in through Ritchie's corner, chasing after Mark, but so far Mark's got the measure of him in these wet conditions, so very impressive stuff. Let's see where exactly he is in the order, because they have to give you the proper order now as they come through. So Michael Blackburn leads then, with the new fastest lap of the race. It's Sam Beckett in second place, Lee Barron's currently third, Mark Blunt is up to fourth, so this will most definitely be his best result of the year if he can hold on here. There's Mark Robinson in fifth position, Lewis Barron is currently sixth. It's Lewis Woodward in 7th place. He's had a good start as well. Lewis Woodward, he started back in 12th position and has made up so far 5 places from 12th up to 7th. So that's good drive from him as well. There he is, looking the sort of purple, black and white camo liveried car, number 26. There he goes. Just with Ryan Barron behind him and the recovering Chris Grimes as well, who has had quite an adventure this afternoon. He had a much simpler race earlier on where he ended up pinching the win. We thought it was Michael Blackburn's, but he just got him on the line when he looked at the footage again and reset the result by 31 thousandths of a second. But Chris's wild driving has seen him fully on sideways through Coram, and then either through moments later at Ritchie's or in the Montreal hairpin, a problem that's caused him to go off the road and lose more places. So he's probably in contention for the championship, but that certainly won't have helped his cause. And also, I didn't see where Chris Jones got to. Well, Chris Jones, actually, I can tell you actually now, he's in 13th, because remember, he started back from the pit lane. So back in the pit lane was Chris Jones, but he managed to claw his way back up to 13th position. And a couple of other cars we didn't have to take that start. So actually, we had 5 cars that didn't take the start. We had Daniel Cooper, we saw being pulled off the grid. Ben Thomas didn't start this race either. Neither did Tony Mumford. And we lost both Gareth Pilling and also, sadly, Michael Heath. So those 5 cars sadly not able to get out there in the wet conditions and try and pick up some more points for the championship. There's Mark Blunt in car number 3. Oops, off the road goes Lewis Barron. And now, being on the grass at least in these conditions is the worst thing you want to do, because, of course, wet grass actually can make the car accelerate in terms of speed it up in terms of the rate it's going, rather than slow it down or maintain the speed. So if you're braking, if you're trying to brake, the slippery nature of it means you just skid and you start to speed up and gain more and more momentum. So it's got to be very careful not to hit the grass too much. Otherwise, if it just drags you off onto the road, you can find yourself going faster on the grass than you would be if you were on the track at the moment. Mark Robinson then keeping Mark Blunt honest then, as James Beckett. Beckett goes through. Sam Beckett goes through in second position. There is Lee Barron in third. It's not the worst conditions these guys have dealt with before, although probably at least one driver might say that in the interviews with Josh later on. I can almost guarantee it. Lewis Barron holding on to sixth position, so running well so far. Quick nod to our XRs quickly, also watch the leading STs. So far, it is still Simon Robinson who leads by 6.9 seconds from Jason Hennifer. Alex Causa is up to third, and Daniel Lee is currently holding on to fourth position. So the XRs having their own little race at the moment towards the rear of the field. And there's our top two. Michael Blackburn looking as though he's on course to take what would now be his second win of the season. A second win of the weekend, forgive me, because we thought it was going to be his second win when he crossed the line, according to the timing screen, 0.08 of a second ahead of Chris Grimes. But of course, when it was looked back, I'm sure at the photo finish camera, it showed apparently that it was Chris Grimes who managed to pip him at the checker flag. But at the moment, it looks as though there's going to be seemingly no troubles for him at this point. Michael Blackburn turns his way into Oggies. Just under 5 minutes to go now in this final race of the weekend for the STXR Challenge. It's great to have them at a circuit that's outside their usual venues of Alton Park and Anglesey. And as we mentioned, they'll be heading to Cadwell Park at the end of the month, at the end of next month in August. They've then got a bit of a break, about a month and a half, before they go to, again, arguably their most fancied circuit that they tend to go to quite a lot, which is Alton Park. And of course, we then have the finale at Donington Park at the beginning of November, where they'll be able to settle the championship, not just overall, but also the class champions as well. Of course, between mainly, I'd say A, B, and D, we do have one car out for Class C, and no one's ventured out for Class E just yet, but certainly the Class Ds, the Fiesta STs that are the most popular out there in the STXR Challenge paddock, certainly making the most of the fact that they have plenty of top contenders in them. And Michael Blackburn is certainly one of them. He makes his way now through Coram. It's a long right-hander. It never used to be this long, because remember the days of back in the late 80s and 90s, and before they made the changes in 2010, I think it was 2010, 2011, when it used to be a slightly shallower corner, a long corner that Coram was, but not as long as it is now. They're actually going to throw the checker flag early, it seems, to try and possibly gain back some of the time they lost in the delay. So Danny Lee heads to the pits. It's Michael Blackburn who takes the checkered flag, takes his second win of the weekend in race number 3 for the ETSL STXR Challenge. Sam Beckett rounds off his weekend with a P2. And Lee Barron on the podium after a worthwhile weekend for him. It's been a bit up and down for him, but third will do. Fourth goes to Mark Blunt. He's going to be overjoyed with that. His best result to date in STXRs. Brilliant stuff from Mark Blunt to come from quite deep in the field. Fifth for Mark Robinson. Sixth for Lewis Barron. Seventh for Luke Woodward. He'll be delighted with that too. Seventh, his best result today. Frustration for Chris Grimes, though. He felt it could have been more than that, and inside the top 5 re-win a podium, but sadly the mistakes he made saw him throw that away. It's then Chris Grimes 8th, as we said. It's then 9th place for Ross Craig. He started 16th and finished 9th. Good stuff from him in the opening laps to pick his way through in the wet conditions. It's 10th then for Ryan Barron, 11th for Chris Jones after he started from the pit lane. He would have started 4th, but for whatever reason started from the pit lane. I think he obviously did that to try and avoid any potential incidents in the first couple of corners. Alec Townley finishes 12th. Simon Robertson comes home and wins the XR contingent, so he wins that ahead of Jason Hennifer, who finishes 15th overall. And then Alex Causer, who'll come home 17th overall. And we just saw Danny Lee just before Michael Blackburn crossed the line. He was in the pit lane with what seemed to be an issue late in the day. So thank you to everyone in the STXR Challenge for putting on 3 brilliant races over the weekend. Thanks to them for making the visit to Snetterton. And as we say, they'll be back out in action, back on the live stream, of course, for their next meeting, which will be at Cadwell Park at the end of August 28th and 29th. So if you're around Cadwell Park area and are looking to go, be sure to head down there and check it out. So I'm sure tickets will be available on the Cadwell Park website. And if you want to watch them, of course, you can check out, of course, everything here on the BRCC YouTube channel and also on the BRCC Facebook page as well. And again, any information you want on STXR Challenge, either head to their dedicated website or the brcc.co.uk website. Head to the Formula section, click ETSL STXR Challenge, and all the info that you need there is available for you to download and consume. So, quick recap of the result then on the top 10. Michael Blackburn then wins that slightly shortened third STXR Challenge race. It's a win for Michael Blackburn. Sam Beckett picks up second. Lee Barron is third to round out the podium. Fourth for Mark Blunt, one of his best results ever. Fifth for Mark Robinson. Sixth for Lewis Barron. Seventh for Luke Woodward. Eighth for Chris Grimes. Ninth for Ross Craig. And 10th for Ryan Barron to round out the top 10. Of course, the order of the XRs was Simon Robertson taking his second win of the weekend in that category from Jason Hennifer and Alex Causer. So not quite the Fiesta action done just yet. We've still got one more race for the Fiesta Junior Championship to go, but that's the STXRs done and dusted. And I think they're going to bring them, just parking the assembly area here before we hopefully have a chat with them in Parc Ferme with Josh Barrett. can see he's down there on the ground waiting for him to get out as Sam Beckett retrieves his hands device. I think we're good to go, so we'll hand down to Josh now, who I'm sure will be glad for the drivers to be quite dry in the cars, but and it wasn't as wet as we thought it was going to be for the race. Let's head down to Josh to have a chat with our top 3 from race 3 for the ETSL STXR Challenge.
So we haven't got our race winner at the moment, Michael Blackburn, so we'll get him in a moment. We have got second and third here, Sam Beckett and Lee Bowron. We'll speak to Sam, who came second first. Second place there for you, Sam, after some adventures earlier on today.
Oh yeah, second race, yeah. We made up for that in that one, but horrendous conditions out there. I mean, it's so slippery everywhere, and then just managed to, I don't know, work my way past people on the first lap, and then a couple of people made mistakes, and I just kept it smooth, kept it clean, and ended up with second. So couldn't catch Mike obviously because he's absolutely rapid against. But yeah, once you've got a gap and you're in the wet, it's so hard to try and make yards or like gain anything, because usually you gain on the brakes, but round it you can't gain anything on the brakes, and you're so gentle around everything. But yeah, I mean, mega race, come back from, I think it was 10th to second. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. So
obviously when you did your original green flag laps, the rain was coming down in extreme measures.
Yeah. On the green flag laps, I think it was an absolute pond round Coram. The bomb hole was absolutely flooded. You couldn't steer, like, you couldn't turn in, you couldn't hit the brakes at all. Like, not like you're trying to, but yeah, it's just absolute water everywhere. And like, these tyres aren't the best in the wet, but you have to make do with what you got. And yeah, they came good in the end, but that's it.
So I guess you're on a dry setup as well.
No, not a dry setup. I knew the rain was coming, but we're limited to what we can do. You put your best tread of tyre on and then soften the suspension off a little bit, and that's all you can do really. So we don't have full wet tyres, we don't have a proper wet geo setup that we can do quickly. It's just go as is and put these on.
Enjoyed your weekend in Norfolk?
Yeah, it's been all right, to be fair. I mean, could have been better, but yeah, 2 second places and a 10th or 11th or whatever it was. I'm pretty happy with that.
Well done on your second place finish there. Third place was Lee Bowron. Third place there for you, Lee, in tricky conditions.
Yeah, exceptionally tricky. That was well, treacherous. I think it'd probably be a better way of putting it. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant, to be honest with you. I think I'm just hope everybody's got back all right. To be honest with you, I didn't see any cars on track, but yeah, it was pretty treacherous out there, I have to say.
Was there standing water around?
Yeah, there was, and you hit the standing water, aquaplaned, and I had a full dry setup, so that didn't help things. But yeah, just glad it's over, to be honest with you. Quite enjoy that one.
What about the 2 dry races over the weekend? Did you enjoy coming here for them?
Oh yeah. I mean, Snetterton's great, isn't it? Cracking track. No, it's fantastic, especially the 300 over the 200. No, great, absolutely great. Yeah.
Did you race here before this weekend?
Yes, yeah. We were racing here a month ago in the KAs.
Oh, right.
So we do the Enduro KAs. So we did that on the 200 circuit. Yeah. Been here a few times now. So great.
Congratulations on third place. Michael Blackburn has made his way down to Parc Fermé now, I think via the pit lane. So we'll grab a word with our race winner. 2 wins out of 3 for Mike after an incident, or not an incident, there we go, finish in the previous race where he just lost the win. 2 wins out of 3, and that third win, unfortunately, when we spoke to you earlier, that's not come off, but you redeemed yourself with a huge win that time.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, difficult conditions, but got a rhythm going, at a reasonable pace, and I literally just, I've obviously got my lap timer and just stuck to the same lap time, where, I could see on my speed, showing me where I was quicker and slower, and just stuck to the same. Literally just kept copying it each lap. And I think my lap times were in about 1/4 of a second to each other. Kept me on the circuit.
And obviously you had to sit on the grid for a long time, waiting. How does that make you feel when you're sitting there?
Shut my eyes and dozed off for 5 minutes. You have to get in a relaxed state before a race. I just shut my eyes and disappeared into my own world for 5 minutes.
So a good weekend here, and now looking forward to the rest of the season.
2 wins and a second, and when I did get a second, it wasn't by much. Yeah, I've got to be pleased with that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Congratulations on a great weekend.